Alrighty guys, welcome back. We are watching Madoka Magica, episode 10. Man, last time everyone died. I mean, not really. I'm assuming Sayaka and Kyoko are man, big explosion. So I don't know. It seems like they're dead to me. So I actually just have no idea like where we're going. I just don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do for 3 episodes if every character is like gone. Like who do we have left? We have Madoka, we have Homura, and we have Kyubey. So man, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know what we're gonna do. Oh God, whatever. I guess we'll just see. We're watching episode 10. You can line you and copy up with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Okay. Is this the beginning? I assume so. There did have to be a point where she did this for the first time, right? Ooh, a heart condition. Have we heard this music before? I don't think so. How different from the first episode, huh? She's very cute glasses, Homura. Oh, man. And then she does this every time. Hmm. Oh, man. I'm just. Yeah, just like she told her to call her Homura. Just the sad thing is however close she gets to Madoka, it's lost forever. She can never get this back exactly. Hmm. I wonder if how different Madoka feels, and this is partially just because she didn't have the dream, right? And if this is the first loop, right? She doesn't know the answer to everything yet. Oh God, don't cry. Oh. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I'm a, I'm gonna assume Kyubey is gonna approach her. She's gonna get her powers, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. She's just like Madoka, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And unlike Madoka, she's actually gonna make the wish, make the contract. Oh, wow. Man. It is very interesting that pretty much all of the witches have been directly linked to suicide and suicidal thoughts. Mommy gonna show up? I'm gonna assume so. Oh, I hit my mic, my bad. Yeah. Man, we have not seen her in a while, have we? Oh, we get the music again. Oh, and Madoka. Okay. Madoka's already okay. Interesting. So, man, how differently? It must go so differently because of Homura's involvement. She has a bow. I see. She is powerful. God, I hate you, Cube. Go away. Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting. So she made it before Homura even showed up. Assuming the timeline's like the same. Ah, whoa. Okay. It's the thing. Yeah. Oh. Hmm. Oh. She would blame herself. So she obviously ends up getting self-fulfillment from becoming a magical girl. Which makes sense, right? And I guess I'm saying that just because I've talked so much about how I would disagree with her decision to sacrifice herself in that sense. But I understand that it would improve her self-image and that she would. Oh, yeah. So Kyubei's gonna be like, oh, you can make a contract, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So what's her wish gonna be? Her wish is gonna be that she wishes she could change it, right? That she could bring back Madoka, surely, right? And that's what's gonna result in these time powers? Because your powers are based off your wish, right? Like how Sayaka had the healing powers. Okay. So and then yeah, and then it just creates the paradox, right? Oh, okay. Yeah, even more explicitly. Okay. So, oh wow. Very specific wish. I'm surprised that Kyubey would grant her that wish considering the implications of it. Oh. Mm-hmm. So did her wish to become strong, is that what has influenced her behavior so much? Or is it just okay, so okay. She is gonna end up meeting Madoka earlier. That's why Madoka made the wish in a week. But she's gonna show up to school earlier now than she did. Okay, whatever. I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Ooh. Okay. It's gonna be weird. Oh no. Stop. Stop it. Stop. This is embarrassing. I can't do that. It's just cringe to me. Just okay. So maybe not. Never mind. What I was saying about her meeting Madoka earlier is the fact that Madoka had already made the wish a week ago by the time Homer showed up, you know. And on her calendar, she still had like a week to go before it said go back to school. So that's what I'm saying. Wow. You beat up a barrel. And she got. She collapsed because of it. How to what? Something. What are you doing? Interesting, there's no Sayaka. Obviously, Sayaka only got wrapped up into this because of Mommy and like the situation, and because of Homura chasing that cube, all of that. So I guess it makes sense. Oh man, that is so cool. Like, come on, run, go. Oh, oh, nice. I mean, you know, we just murdered a witch. So that is kind of sad, but you know. It's very nice seeing Madoka like this, even though I know like what it means, right? Still led to the same point, huh? Not calling her Madoka. Oh, okay. We'll get to see this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So this is her trying to convince people, which I brought up several times. Yeah. And of course, Saika hates her, so like, good luck. Interesting that Mommy is still alive. But I guess Madoka already made the wish, right? So Mommy didn't die. Yeah. She has a gun later. Oh God. There it is. I guess Saika doesn't hate her in this timeline because Mommy isn't dead, right? Is that Sayaka? Yeah. Oh, and they don't know the truth. Oh no, they do? Okay. Yeah. It's interesting that this still happened to Sayaka anyway. I guess I assume her relationship with Kamijo still deteriorated and all of that happened, right? What are you gonna do? That's not gonna work, is it? Maybe. Oh. They aren't gonna like that, are they? Yeah. Okay. Oh. Oh, girl. Oh. Oh. Wow. The terrifying thing is that if Homura dies once, it's just like over, right? It's not okay. But they can't beat it. Hmm. Wonder if she's content to die alongside Madoka. Or maybe... Oh. Just wondering if because of the nature of her wish causing like a paradox. I don't think Madoka thinks that sounds very nice. Not letting Homura give up. Yeah. The ability to change fate. Mm-hmm. Interesting that in this moment is when she's thrown into such despair to become a witch. Oh. Okay. No more glasses, huh? Oh no, they're right there. Yeah. Oof. God, how many times has she done this? How many times has she tried? Oh, so much like Madoka, you know? Mm-hmm. And the problem is Madoka can't accept that, right? So, but that doesn't work. Yeah, this is the dream at the start. Are these even, are these just the exact same shots we got right at the start? I think they might be. It's been so long, I don't remember. I think so. Yeah, it is. I remember that. We didn't get that, though. They both have the ability to change fate, don't they? Oh, man. Shut up. Oh my god. Interesting. Of course. Mm-hmm. No. Hmm. So she can just control it. She can just reset whenever she wants. Killing him doesn't make a difference. Yeah. But, oh man. So much to think about with this. Like, obviously all of humanity is at stake because Madoka will destroy the planet if she becomes a magical girl, so I guess that is a factor I have to think about. I'm just thinking about just how similar, you know, Homura is really sacrificing herself for Madoka. And the same all of the same things I've said about Madoka apply to her just as much, right? That's the end? Okay. If you say so. Oh, that's the opening, huh? Guess the opening does feel different now, doesn't it? Dude, it hurts. I just don't. Oh man. Because if rough, it is rough. It's really hard to draw any serious conclusions about what to say or what to think in this situation. That shot, I love that shot. I'll never depend on anyone ever again, but that's just not how it works. Man, what an episode, dude. What an episode. Oh, man. Okay. We'll talk about it in the discussion. Man, alright, let's talk about the episode. I've been sitting here for 10 minutes trying to, I don't know, gather my thoughts. I think what I'm even gonna say, because man, this was man a good episode. That is for sure a very good episode. I like the opening at the end. I feel like that's really man, because like the opening, it was more and more. The further on we got without Madoka ever making the contract becoming a magical girl, the like kind of weirder this opening felt, you know. But it makes sense now, you know. Now that we have like a full picture of the actual scope of the story, I just, man, it's good. I don't know. Very good. A very good opening. All right. So Homura. Oh God. I mean, where do we even like? So Homura. Homura is like Madoka, right? They're very similar. You know, I think that's very clear here, right? Um, she really, if anything, it's like in her first loop here. I just can't even call it a loop at this point, right? Just her life. She really experiences, in my mind, a pretty similar trajectory to like what Madoka has been experiencing herself. And like, you know, what the timeline we have seen in the anime, you know, her not having made the contract. Like, the first thing I want to point out, because it's so immediately striking and obvious, and I had to like, I don't know, it wasn't immediately obvious to me why it was like this, is Madoka is so happy and so nice and so like, man, she is so different than we have ever seen her in the anime, right, before this point. And I think the obvious reason why she's so different is because she's made the contract, right? She's a magical girl, you know. She already is at this point. And like, oh man, it makes me really sad. It makes me really sad because we know, you know, we know why. She really wants to become a magical girl. She really, you know, we know what becoming a magical girl means to her, what she feels it would do for her self-image, for herself, right? Wanting to help other people so badly. And all of that, you know. And it has this extreme impact on her behavior, right? Like, I just, even more so compared to like, obviously, like when we were seeing the scene the other way around with Homura and Madoka in the first episode, there was obviously like the, you know, a factor that was changing Madoka's behavior in that case, where she had the weird dream and like Homura was acting weird and all of that, you know. But it's still, I think it's still very clear how different Madoka's behavior is in this scene than it is in anything we've seen before now, you know. And yeah, it makes me really sad because like it's, I don't, am I thinking about it wrong? I really don't think I am, but it really is. Okay, no, I'm not thinking about it wrong. What I'm not accounting for here is it's not self-sacrifice for her at this moment, right? At this moment, she doesn't know the truth of what being a magical girl is. So for her, this is her just being happy because she's in a position where she can help other people like she's always wanted to, right? So it doesn't have this dark element of like self-sacrifice that would now be at play if she made the contract in like, you know, the current timeline where we're at. So okay, so that's just not a factor. Yeah. So yeah, this is the type of meaning and change in Madoka's life and behavior and assumedly her self-image and everything about her that would happen if she was actually given the opportunity to believe that she was helping people and making a difference, you know? Which, man, how many times have we talked about helping people and like what that means? Because again, I feel like inherently in some way, if you're getting all of your value about who you are as a person based off of just helping other people, and you think that without that you're like worthless, I mean, it's not a good thing, right? Like, I think anyone can agree that that's not a good thing. I also think that's like incredibly human and normal, right? I think most people, if they're in a position in their life where they don't think any of their actions or anything they do helps anyone. Like, I don't know, just like an easy example is like, I don't know, if you work like some terrible, shitty job in a factory or something where you have no connection to the outside world at all or like the actual like meaning behind your labor, then it's going to be really hard to like for your job to feel meaningful and like you're making any kind of difference at all, you know? For Madoka, it's like the opposite of that. She's directly saving people's lives every day. So she finds a lot of meaning in it and like, you know, yeah, it makes her happy and improves her self-image, all of that. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It's just the problem is that we have seen the flip side of it, of how Madoka feels about herself normally without having the opportunity to help other people all the time, you know? And it's not just that, it's that she feels this obligation to do it. She feels like she has to do it because of how useless and terrible she thinks she is, you know? So, I gotta close Discord. Man, it always distracts me. Like, there we go. So, God, it's just so hard for me to figure out what to think about that, you know? Because I guess I just can't deny that it does make me sad, knowing the situation that Madoka is in now. Knowing where her feelings about, like, helping other people come from, you know? It's about her motivation for feeling this way, you know? Because it's not like I'm saying that everyone in real life who, I don't know, donates time to their local food pantry or something is, is like Madoka, and they're doing it because they hate themselves or something, and they have to find external value by helping other people. I'm not saying that. I just think in Madoka's case, that is the truth, you know? So obviously her being so happy about it, like, makes sense, but at the same time, it is, like, depressing. You know, I hope, yeah. We get the whole, you know, Madoka Homura first name thing, given name thing. Yeah. And it's like, you know, and just like, man, it's just such a it's crazy how similar they all are to each other, you know? It's just like how Homura is saying she doesn't feel like she lives up to her own name, which I guess I don't know what that means. Someone should tell me what Homura means. It surely means something. But her saying that kind of thing, and Madoka's response to that, you know, motivating her like this. It reminds me so much of Homura telling Madoka that she shouldn't try to be like another person, you know? Which, man, that line, it always comes back to it about, like, what that really means, you know? And yeah, she hasn't memorized everything yet. I feel so bad for her. She just starts crying. She was bedridden. She can't run around. I wonder how she fixed that, you know? She just got over it, I guess, in the future loops. And I guess an interesting, like, thing to think about with her time travel power too is, like, it's weird because she has the ability to stop time and, you know, fight and do all that during it. But then she could also rewind time, but, like, not in the sense of, like, she literally goes back. It's just she wakes up in her own body again, you know? Which is, like, weird. That's, like, two different, like, separate things, you know? I don't know. It's just interesting to think about, I guess. And Madoka, not Madoka. I'm calling her Madoka because these are some Madoka coded thoughts, that's for sure. I mean, it's literally just she is Madoka, right? Like, they're the same, you know? Like, yeah, she feels just literally the exact same things that Madoka has been saying this whole time. And again, I mean, I guess it just really does play into the fact that everyone on some level needs some kind of external motivation, or they want to feel useful. They want to feel like they're doing things for other people. So it's not like I can view it in a totally negative light, you know? It's these thoughts about it. You shouldn't think this about yourself, like, ever, really. So, but at the same time, I understand that it's probably a pretty basic human need to feel like you're, like, a useful part of your community and you're doing stuff, you know? So, I don't know, it's a very interesting, because I've taken such a negative, like, view of it with Madoka because of, like, how obvious it is that it's a serious issue, especially with her, how there's, like, the extra element of, like, she knows what it means to make a contract with Kyubey and she still wants to do it because she wants to sacrifice herself that badly. And yeah, so Madoka thoughts, you know, all that. I said this during the episode as well, how it's interesting that the witches, they pretty much all of them have been so closely, directly related to wanting to, you know, commit suicide, right? Like, I mean, the one with Hitomi, the very first one that they went after with Mommy, this one, yeah. And I mean, it makes sense, right? And they save. They get saved. And I guess, so Mommy's not dead because Madoka is already a magical girl, so, like, you know, Madoka was able to help her. Mommy didn't have to fight that witch alone. She didn't die to it. Yeah. And it's interesting. It really is. It's Homura goes through, like, the same thing Madoka did. You know, like, Homura goes through this entire first timeline. Oh wait, this is actually such an important thing to think about. Homura goes through this entire first timeline, like, I guess the real timeline, the first one, without making the wish, without making the contract until the very end, you know? So she really does take Madoka's place, you know? Just like Madoka in the anime timeline that we've seen this whole time hasn't made the contract yet. Homura hasn't either. And then what does Homura end up doing at the end? She ends up making the wish so she can go back in time and change everything, you know? Just like Madoka does, right? Just like in the timeline with the dream that we saw in the first episode, Madoka does the same thing, where she makes the wish at the end, because she's not going to let Homura sacrifice everything for her, just like how Homura isn't going to let Madoka sacrifice everything for her. Of course, the difference here is that Madoka becoming a magical girl results in all of humanity dying when she becomes a witch. So that is, man, I kind of wish that almost wasn't a factor, because I have to think about that. Because God, I don't know what to make of that, you know? If we think about it on like just a I don't know, just like a literary meaning level, like I guess if we're thinking about this from like Homura's perspective, well, I guess I don't know which character to even think of it from their perspective. Maybe Homura, because she essentially was the main character in this episode, but Madoka becoming a magical girl results in the complete destruction of the entire world, you know? Which, like, if you're thinking about, like, the meaning behind it, and I mean the meaning is in terms of, like, you know, I mean, I feel like that's a pretty direct connection. You know, like, obviously there's all, like, these lore reasons, like, in-universe reasons why it actually happens, but, like, you know, Madoka deciding she wants to sacrifice herself and help other people results in destruction of the entire world, you know? That's pretty, you know, those are connected things, obviously, like, in-universe for story reasons, and also, like, in a story writing perspective, you know? Like, for Homura, that being a connection makes sense, because Madoka doing that means she loses Madoka, you know? And, yeah, then the world is destroyed. Like, Homura's world is, you know, if her world is Madoka, then, like, yeah, this thing being connected makes sense. For Madoka, like, think about it, like, this obviously, like, it's Madoka ever deciding to go through with her desire to help other people means the entire world will be destroyed, right? That's really, man, that's pretty harsh, isn't it? Like, think about like what the author could be trying to say through that. You know, I feel like that's a pretty obvious, like, it's just very, man, it is very interesting. Like, obviously there's the whole angle of it with what Kyubey says about how, like, it's their energy that they need and how they get enough of it from Madoka herself, right? It's kind of the whole abstracted thing of, like, sure, Madoka is killing herself and everyone she cares about, but she's saving the entire universe, you know, by giving off all this energy. It's like, obviously when you look at it through that lens, it shows how ridiculous it is and that Madoka shouldn't do that. At least in my mind it does, you know? So I guess just if we go down to like a smaller level, I guess it's just we could just say that, I mean, what's really being said here is that no, Madoka shouldn't be sacrificing herself, just in general, I suppose, right? I mean, again, in my mind, the connection there is if Madoka will end up sacrificing herself for the sake of other people without being able to recognize her own value and like what she means to those around her, then that's why it's a bad thing, you know? We kind of got off the rails there, but I hope you understand what I mean, that this whole Madoka making the wish equals the world gets destroyed, and like the literary meaning of that, right? And it's just, I don't know, it's just something interesting to think about. Because that's not there with Homura, right? That's not really there with Homura. Homura making the wish doesn't have that, you know, because she is really doing something very similar to Madoka, where she's sacrificing herself, like she really is, you know. She has gone through essentially, I mean, eternal suffering in a way. And she is still a magical girl. She's still going to end up becoming a witch, right? Her life is still going to be over, like she said. You know, just give up on her, right? And she's doing all of this for Madoka, right? And I guess in a very similar way, it's like if she is if all of her value, if she doesn't value herself enough, God, if she found all of her value in Madoka and her existing, man, God, I don't know. It would have to be something I would really mull over, I suppose. Let's talk about Walpurgisnacht, because that is another thing that obviously has some kind of extreme literary meaning to it. I just don't know what exactly, right? Because like obviously what it is it's this foreboding event on the horizon that they have to be prepared for that's going to destroy everything, you know. Um, It's like that's like what it is, you know. So I'm just trying to figure out like in a what could that be like almost representative of. I like the idea I've talked about it before about how like Madoka and Homer and everyone are of the age that they're kind of on the precipice of like not being like little kids anymore. You know, they're people who have to like decide who they are and what they're gonna be. And it's almost like Walpurgis Nacht is like that. It's like that wall of like, you know, at this point you have to, you know, it kind of is, right? Because it's Walpurgis Nacht is this thing that it's coming. It's, you know, with the patches of time, it's gonna be here, and you know, all of these girls had to have made their wish by then, and you know, they have to be magical girls or not. And if they haven't, then it's gonna, I don't know, destroy the world, I assume, just like Madoka would. Hmm. I don't know. I mean, obviously, that's kind of a very vague, like, metaphorical meaning you could apply to it. I just think I feel like it has to have some kind of meaning like that in some sense, you know? Because it feels like such an obvious, like, literary thing, you know, like just this giant disaster that's coming that you have to be prepared for in some way. And yeah, and the fact that they just the same thing. It's just like how you can't do it alone. You know that they emphasize that so many times that nobody can fight Walpurgis Nacht alone. You know, and I guess just if we're looking at it in the sense of like you have to decide who you are and all of that, it's like no one can be someone fully self sufficient without you know other people being involved in your life in some way, right? Like shout out to Araragi. You know. Again, I it's not like I'm locked in on that interpretation of what Walpurgis Nacht is. I just think that's an interesting way to look at it. Hmm. And of course, like she says, let's just run away. No one would ever blame you. Madoka would blame herself, right? I mean, obviously, you know. So let me read what she said again. And I guess I'm just wondering, like, in this moment, with Madoka saying, "I'm really glad we became friends," and all of this, is am I should I believe that Madoka has discovered her own value and has like become fulfilled with herself through being a magical girl and through helping other people? I guess I should be, right? And in that sense, should I be okay with her decision in this case to try and fight Walpurgis Nacht alone? The problem is it doesn't work, right? I guess the important thing here is that there's no other option, you know? It really is a self-sacrificial act. It's not like Madoka is deciding to go off and do this by herself. Um, there's no other option, you know? And I guess maybe that's the other important factor here. Man, it's just oh God, I just don't know what to think anymore, you know? Because the stuff that that Madoka says about becoming a magical girl and the anime timeline that we've seen is just so awful about herself and everything that it's so hard for me to believe that she would really find self-fulfillment in a meaningful sense through helping other people in the way that she wants to, just because of like where it comes from in her mind about her being useless and all of that, you know? But can I really say that if I'm seeing her like this? I just don't know. I just don't know, you know? I mean, again, it's we know where it leads to. We know where it leads to, so I can't say that I think she should become a magical girl. Oh God. And she did die. Madoka's through sacrificing herself did hurt the people around her, right? She hurt Homura, obviously. But again, it's like there's no other option. Through what Madoka said there, it's like I think she does understand what she means to other people in some way, right? She emphasized how happy she is that they became friends and all of this, how much it meant to her, and she still died anyway. God, I just man, I just don't know. I'm sorry, I just don't know. It's so hard. It's really a situation where I feel like there's no correct like interpretation or answer for me to say like what I think Madoka should or shouldn't do in this situation, you know. And yeah, and Homura makes her wish. I guess at this point they don't have a full understanding of the whole magical girl witch thing. But in that case, I still feel like this is Homura. I don't know, would I say this is Homura sacrificing herself just by making this wish? Maybe, maybe not. That's actually something to think about, you know, without the context of them understanding that, like, what witches are and what they mean and all of that. Would I call this a self-sacrificial act by Homura? Maybe not. She is making a wish for another person, but they don't really understand, like, what that means yet, you know? But at the same time, she is locking herself into this crazy time loop stuff and doing all of this because obviously, you know, not just for Madoka, but because she doesn't want to live on without Madoka, right? It's kind of like a Madoka wish in a way. Like, you know, it's like she feels like she should have been helping this whole time, and you know, I'm sure it's like the same kind of thoughts that Madoka had after Mommy's death. I'm sure Homer is having those same thoughts in that moment about Madoka's death and all of her friends, you know. So just unlike, man. In that sense, I guess I'm surprised that Madoka didn't end up wanting to make a similar wish that Homura made. And you know, like, because Madoka would have been in a situation too. Man, this is going to be a ridiculously long discussion. We are not even close to through this episode yet. I'm sorry. But I guess I'm surprised Madoka didn't make a wish similar to Homura. Because, you know, Homura's wish was just, you know, obviously I want to undo all of this and fix it, right? Madoka has wanted to do something like that too, right? She has wanted to try and fix everything for everybody. But Madoka's wish, and the way she always, like, seems to think about it and phrase it, like, in her mind, is in a much more self-sacrificial way, right? Like, it really, I guess just for Madoka, it just goes back to that she thinks she is the problem, she is the one who, like, owes it to other people to pay them back for what they've done for her, and all of this, right? So, I guess it makes sense that, like, this type of thing, like, Homura having the idea that she can go back in time and fix everything, I think is a level of, like, self-confidence that Madoka could never have. Like, Madoka thinks, like, Madoka's go-to wish with Kyubey would just be like, God, I don't even know, I fix everything, and she'll just be sacrificed and dead. Like, I just, you know, I guess that paints a difference in Homura in this timeline compared to Madoka in the anime timeline that we've had this whole time, you know? I mean, maybe I'm, like, overthinking that. I really don't think I am, though. Because, like, Madoka hasn't ever thought of making a wish like this, you know? And I think the reason why she always thinks of it in such a self-sacrificial way is just because of the way she thinks about herself and all of that. God, this is cringe. I can't do, like, people acting embarrassing in social situations like this. I don't know why. I just heard... Like, it's not even that embarrassing, you know? She just runs up to Madoka and starts talking a bunch of nonsense in front of everyone. But, like, I don't know, it makes me cringe. I just can't do it. I don't know why. God, I do have to wonder, like, what Kyubey really thought of Homura this whole time, you know? Because obviously, we kind of know that he just doesn't know what's up with her. And at the same time, it's very interesting to me that he agreed to make that wish at all when he understood the implications of it. But, man, I don't know. I feel like it has to do with part of them not understanding humanity, you know? Oh, how to make bombs. Okay. All right. That's she's like what? Went to 4chan or something? Found a tutorial? I don't know. Okay, great. I guess that's the early internet for you. Hmm. And so it's interesting, like Homura. So Homura's first idea of how to fix everything is to just become strong enough to help them defeat Walpurgisnacht, right? Like that's the idea here, right? If she kind of does like what Madoka thinks she should have done after the mommy situation, right? That makes sense, you know. Madoka thinks that if she had just made the contract, she could have been strong enough to, you know, help other people and they wouldn't have died without that happening, you know. So I guess we'll just see how that ends up because I think it's probably, you know, that makes sense to me that nothing was fixed, you know, because I guess, man, it really is. It's just like how Madoka feels like she needs to shoulder all of this responsibility for everyone else because she feels like she owes it to the world because of how little she values herself. Homer is like doing the same thing and it doesn't work out, right? Her first inclination is to try and do it all by herself, become strong enough, it doesn't work. So it makes sense to me. Makes sense to me, right? This is when she figures out the truth of Kyubey. They don't believe her, which makes sense because I brought that up a few times. It's interesting that Sayaka is so against Homura, even in this timeline. Because obviously, Sayaka doesn't have like the reason to distrust Homura that she did in the anime timeline, right? Because Mommy's not dead and all of that. So I don't know. It's interesting that it ends up that way anyway. That Sayaka like doesn't trust Homura and all of that. Though I don't know. There got to be something there. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's interesting that Sayaka still ends up becoming a witch. I assume that's because she probably makes a very similar wish, right? I mean, I assume Kamijo Kyosuke was in the same situation, and the same stuff happened. Their relationship deteriorated. All of that, right? So, God, I wonder what Mommy said to her after she did that. Because we never got a continuation of, And Mommy, man, it's crazy that Mommy would do this, but it does make sense, right? And that she would be this. Because Mommy really is like the purest girl in a way. She really is. Like she had such an idealistic view of what being a magical girl is. But I guess all of them do, right? I am surprised that Madoka was able to get back up after all that. God, look at that face. And then here, like, so they lost anyway, right? They can't do it alone, still. Madoka gives her the last grief seed. God, dude, like, there are so many different things that, like, intersect here that I just don't know what to think about it, man. About, like, what this means. Like, Madoka gives her the last grief seed because, of course, that's what Madoka would do, right? Um, And like, yeah, she said all this stuff about how Homura can go back in time. Obviously, even if Homura couldn't go back in time and she couldn't change history, Madoka would do this anyway, right? She would give Homura her last grief seed anyway, right? I think that's obvious. Um, I think it is interesting that Homura, knowing that this is Madoka's response to being in this situation where she's going to die like this, Homura's decision is to continue. Well, I guess she's doing it at Madoka's wish, right? Madoka wanted her to fix everything like this. But I guess my point here is like Homura would sacrifice herself for Madoka in an instant. Like I hope that's not controversial. I hope that's like very well understood, right? Despite Madoka, I guess, man, I guess it really is kind of wrapped up in the whole fact that Homura really was the only hope they had. Hmm. I guess, and then just another thing I want to talk about is like I've talked many times about how it's very important to me that if Madoka wants to sacrifice herself and help other people in this way, she has to understand what she means to other people and like recognize her own value before that. And I guess Homura, in a way, is like the ultimate example of that because Homura, it's like Madoka is Homura's entire life. That's why Homura is trying so hard to prevent Madoka from sacrificing herself in this way. So I guess Homura is kind of like the ultimate litmus test in a way of this. Like how I guess if Madoka could somehow convince Homura that her sacrificing herself to fix everything would be a good idea, then I would agree with her for sure. Maybe that's impossible though. That might be the point, right? That might be the point, is the fact that maybe Homura is like a counterexample to what I've been thinking this whole time. Is that sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself and you have to help other people despite like what it's going to do to other people who care about you. I guess that's always a factor anyway, like Madoka's mom, right? So that's just something very interesting to think about. And I guess Madoka wants to be saved, right? She really does want to be saved. So I guess I just have to believe. I guess just through Madoka wanting to be saved so by Homura so badly. I guess it does make me believe that she did find self-fulfillment and did recognize her own value through being a magical girl. It's just like, what do I take from that? What does that mean? You know? I hope you can appreciate my mental struggle here compared with like the way I've analyzed the whole show so far. I just don't know what to think about it, you know? And yeah, she doesn't want to become a witch. If we believe what Kyoko says, she has to become a witch, right? And in sense of like, obviously like it's not like but you know what I mean. The whole like, there's always an equal and opposite reaction to you helping other people. But I just can't believe that. I just don't believe that. I cannot accept that as the truth, right? So I reject what Kyoko says. I reject what Kyubei says. There has to be a way through this without her becoming a witch, without her dying. I mean, maybe there isn't. Her dying would be better than her becoming a witch and destroying everything. I just. It's almost like the whole magical girl witch thing is like a representation of Madoka's mindset in terms of her, like, the way that Madoka feels like she owes the world so much because of what other people have done for her. She then feels like she has to do so much for other people. And then people that she has helped, like Homura, then feel like they have to do so much for her. It's like this cycle forever. And I guess the time control magic is kind of making it even worse. But like it kind of does go along with like what Kyoko said, the nature of being a magical girl and turning into a witch. It's like this cycle of, and how do you break it? I don't know. Can you break it? I would hope so, because I reject it. So no one can accept the future. Kind of her saying that no one can accept the future kind of is very similar to like Kyoko's position. The inevitable reality of becoming a witch, right? Hmm. Will never depend on anyone again. Which is like, I guess that in a way is like Homura trying to break the cycle, right? The cycle of indebtedness, I guess, in a way, right? Fueled by low self-esteem and low self-worth. But that's obviously not a solution. That's not going to work. She does not beat Walpurgisnacht. That does not work. So, because and that's not what I want for Madoka. That's not what I want. Dude. Man. Man, oh man. And this just doesn't work either. It's just, man, yeah. And we're full circle. This is the opening scene right at the beginning. This is the dream. Of course, Kyubei convinces Madoka, just like Kyubei convinced Homura at the end of the first one. And it just makes me think: are we just leading back to that? How are we going to break this cycle? I mean, how are we going to break it? How there's always an equal. Man, is it true? Is Kyoko right that it's impossible to do good? I just, I just, it can't be, right? There has to be a way out. There has to be a way out. Man, what a shot. What a shot. I'd make that the thumbnail, but I feel like it's just too, I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't work. It's too hard to tell what you're looking at, I feel like. As the strongest magical girl, she took down her greatest enemy. Naturally, after that, all that was left was for her to become the most terrible witch. There. That really means something. That is for sure. And yeah, we kind of talked about this. The energy quota, all of that. Homura can't accept the future, can she? And we're back, right? For one and only friend. What was the name of this episode? I don't. It's somewhere. I think it was something related to that, though. My one and only friend. Um. Okay. So, I mean, I guess we have a full picture of everything, I assume now. That was a really long discussion, not as long as I was worried it was going to be, but dude, I guess at this point I just have to see what's going to happen. I don't know how to even analyze it anymore in a way because um it feels like that this it's the type of thing that there's really no answer for, you know? It's just the nature of self-sacrifice and finding self-fulfillment and self-determination in other people and helping other people. And I guess it's just in a way that it's something that there can't be an answer for. And I don't think the author is giving us an answer for it. We're just kind of exploring it in a way. We're just kind of looking at it just from a bunch of different angles, I guess, right? So I'm along for the ride. I guess we'll see what happens next time. Yeah, I guess that's it. Leave a comment, tell me what you think. Man, we gotta wrap this up. We got 2 left. I gotta see what happens. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one.